All right, let's get this started.
We made 1 million in our second year in practice. We're trying to help as many chiropractors and future chiropractors do the same to help as many people as possible. I don't run any ads, so if you enjoy the content, please subscribe and share it with your colleagues and future colleagues to get on the path to victory.
To understand.
So here we have on Dr. Jodi Hierholzer. Am I saying that right?
You got it. It's like
Awesome.
if you had a baby girl and you're like, here, hold her, but put a Z in it.
I love that.
Hierholzer.
Yes. So I wanted to first, I obviously want to introduce you, but I wanted to start by kind of talking about how we first met because it's a very funny story. Alejandro and I were escapading around Abilene, the beautiful town of Abilene, and we wanted to drop in at a CrossFit gym. And so we accidentally went into your building, which was in front of the CrossFit gym, and stumbled upon you there. And we thought, hey, this is a really sick PT place. And so that's how we first met you. You were one of the first people that we met when we first came to Abilene, which is so cool. And you said, hey, we need to do maybe some sort of collaboration because historically PTs and chiros don't get along, but you wanted to change the narrative on that, which I just loved.
1000%.
And got to know you a little bit more and just loved what you stood for. Love that you're trying to get to the root cause of issues with your patients. And if something's hindering them, you want to get them back to doing what they love to do. And so we're on the same mission. We're just going about it in maybe a little bit of a different way, but we're all trying to work together. Like you said, it's an ecosystem.
Yeah.
So Dr. Jodi, will you introduce yourself and maybe further elaborate on that?
Absolutely. So she gave a great story. I'm Dr. Jodi Hierholzer. I've lived in Abilene for almost 16 years now, so I would call myself an Abilenian. But I hail from South Texas, from a really small town, which I think taught me a lot of great characteristics and great skills on just how to work in a small community, how to get to know people and build relationships, which I know you guys do so incredibly well.
Thank you.
So Abilene became home for me, and I worked in network at West Texas Rehab for 7 years after graduating from Hardin-Simmons University. I loved that experience. I had wonderful mentorship. They had a great mission. You really learn to serve when you work at a place like West Texas Rehab, and it was a wonderful place. But after some time, I had a vision for physical therapy that was just a little bit different than anything that we've seen in Abilene, Texas. And that is more of an out-of-network based system that it's not dictated by insurance because, as you know, there are a lot of loopholes and restrictions that come with using your insurance. And so I imagine a world where we can treat people to their maximum capacity. I want to optimize human potential. I want to get to the root cause and use a combination of functional medicine meets movement, meets performance training, and just mesh it all together. So I took that vision, ran with it, and I opened up Bodyworks Physical Therapy and Performance almost 5 years ago, which is wild to say. You know, there's a strong stat of if you can make it past year 5, you're thriving. So we'll be there in February.
That's amazing. And you truly are thriving. I mean, I know so many people who go to see you, and if they haven't, then I always send them to you. And we've had this actually beautiful relationship of a referral network. And I love that we've established that because, again, you've got this vision, we've got a vision, we're on the same page with that stuff. So I love that.
And speaking of visions, we talk about, you know, chiros and PTs historically not getting along maybe. And I have people ask me that all the time, like, let's squish that bug, guys.
Yes.
I say rather than focus on, are you a chiro? Are you a physical therapist? Are you a PA, an NP, a doctor? Regardless, we're all in healthcare and our mission is to help people.
Exactly.
And so when you find like-minded clinicians, regardless of what the initials are behind their last name, get to know them as people. And I know when Emily and Alejandro walked in my space, it's like when you know, I'm like, they're my people. Like they have a similar mission. And just after 5 minutes of talking to you guys, I tried to sell Abilene as hard as I could because I knew Abilene needed more people like what you guys are doing. So
amen.
I'm thankful for y'all. I just encourage any other healthcare providers and even just business owners, like get to know your community, find like-minded people that are on the same track as you. And let's just help each other regardless of what that looks like. We all have something to offer.
That's right. All boats rise with the tide. So
that's right.
I want to see all my small business people and owners thrive and do great because it makes the community better as a whole too, especially when you're on the mission that you're on. Can you tell us one fun fact about yourself?
Oh, there's lots of fun ones. This has been on my heart recently, so I'll throw it out there. So I am adopted. Not a lot of people know that. I have 3 siblings, and they're all very, very tall. So my brothers are 6'4", both of them. My sister's 5'10". I'm all of 5'3", so I call myself the middle seat child. But very blessed by adoption. I think it's a wonderful thing, and thankful to be where I'm at because of it.
Yes, and you have amazing parents too, I know.
I do.
So, and you're very close with your family, so I love that. Thank you for that fun fact. So you mentioned you worked at West Texas Rehab. In chiropractic, we would kind of call that like associating when we don't own our own business, but we work for or with someone. So what was the process of that transition of working at a clinic, associating, we would call it, and then opening your own clinic? Can you tell us and walk us through that?
It's kind of like the analogy of drinking from the fire hydrant. Just like when you go to grad school, it's so much information and you're just trying to survive. And it was almost a sense of ignorance. Like you don't know what you don't know until you get there. And so business owners, I see you, I feel you, I understand you now after 5 years. Because in school, we're trained to be healthcare providers, and we're really good at that. Really good at that. And as a clinician in network or being an associate, that's what you do. You provide patient care all day long. That's your job.
Yes.
When you're a business owner, you're now wearing 1,000 hats. You are now the CEO, the CFO. We call CRO, the Chief Reminding Officer. If you have a team, you are the janitor, you are HR, you are marketing. You're all things. And so I think that was the biggest struggle for me, is learning how can I juggle all of those different responsibilities, and where do I need to put my energy? Is it more into my patients? Then is it growing the team? Is it taking care of my team? Is it making sure that we're still getting leads and getting people in the door? That falls under marketing. And that's not really my specialty. So I've had to learn how to be good at it, and also be able to discern when I'm not good at something, to delegate it or hire somebody who is much better than me to do it.
Yes, you are speaking our language here,
like
girl.
Howdy Media.
Yeah, exactly. Right. We learned early on we cannot do podcasts by ourselves. It's just not going to happen. And we don't really want to. That's not our expertise. We're not good at it.
Yeah.
So this is why we have Howdy Media, right?
They're great people.
So you mentioned too, growing a team and delegating. What was the process of growing and hiring and just expanding your office to get more done, and so you don't have to wear all these hats, and maybe to do things that you're not so good at?
So I take a close look at my KPIs. I've listened to you guys' podcasts. You call them your numbers, your metrics. You know, KPIs are key performance indicators. And if you are a business owner in healthcare, like you need to know your KPIs. That might be different for everybody, but within our system, we look at, okay, how many people are coming through the door? And rather than calling like how many leads, how many patients, we like to look at it from a lens of how many people are we serving? How many people are we helping? And how many people do we need to be able to serve per week, per month, per quarter, per calendar year, to be able to stay afloat and have a little bit of profit, so we can continue to grow and continue to hire on great clinicians and even change the narrative for them.
Yes.
It's like, does burnout need to be under that list of when you sign up to be a healthcare provider? You don't have to sign up for burnout. Like that's a choice. You can work yourself into it. And that's what a lot of people think when they go into healthcare. And that's another mission of mine, is I want to bring people on our team that love to serve, that are talented, but also, you know, take the time to give people the hour-long quality care that they deserve, which not only provides the patient better care, but it also provides the clinician a better lifestyle, a better job. They avoid burnout. So yeah, knowing those metrics, once I got to seeing 120 plus a month, and if you're spending an hour with each person, and then afterward doing the fringe work, I'm sending you home programs, I'm communicating with you, I'm communicating maybe with your coach, to your caregiver, to everybody that knows. Maybe I'm calling Dr. Elias and saying, hey, I've got a case I kind of need your help with. Can we work together? It's a lot of extra work, and you get very, very tired. And so looking at those numbers, I said, okay, it's time to hire. And then I started looking at the field and saying, okay, who are people that fit into our culture? And that's probably the biggest advice I would give to any business owner hiring, is find a good culture fit, because you can teach them the skills. Yes, there needs to be a baseline area of skills, right?
Sure.
You have to have your degree, you have to have your license, whatever that is, but you can teach that. Hire culture.
I love that. Yes, that's actually was going to be one of my questions. Along those same lines, you have done really good about building your culture, and all of that kind of falls into like your brand of BodyWorks. Can you explain a little bit about your logo and kind of how you've involved Christ and God into the whole culture of your office?
Absolutely. So Bodyworks is a fun little spinoff of We're Physio. We do a lot of body work in the CrossFit world, and that's kind of my background. So when those athletes would come up to me and ask for help, I'm like, well, do you have an injury? Do you have something going on? They're like, I'm just hella sore. Like, what can you do for me? I was like, let's do a little bit of body work. So that's how it started. And then I played off on a few things. If you look at the word works, we spell it WRX. We were the first works in town before Hot Works, before Stretch Works.
Yeah.
It's kind of a joke. We love all those businesses. But the RX represents prescription, which is a play on healthcare, and then also playing a CrossFit. So in the CrossFit world, if you do the workout RX, it means you're doing it as prescribed to the most difficult level. And so we wanted to throw the word prescription in there. Yep. We do have a little kettlebell logo in there, of course, to represent the sport and the fitness of what we do. It is teal colored because teal or blue is the national color of physical therapy. Fun fact.
Cool.
Teal is also a favorite color. And then at the very end of our logo, you'll see the X. It's actually a cross, which is tilted to represent Jesus carrying his cross to his final resting place. And for me, I look at that as an ultimate sacrifice. And so when I come to work every day, I want to emulate Jesus. I want to love like Jesus did. I want to serve and be selfless. And almost sacrificial like he did. So whenever I'm feeling selfish and saying, I'm tired, I just want to have a longer lunch break. I just want to go work out, but I have one more patient. When I'm feeling upset or being ornery, because we all feel those things because we're human. My logo is a great reminder of like, you're here to serve. We want to live a purpose-driven life. Like, fulfill your mission, girl. You got this.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. What would Jesus do, right?
Exactly.
Would he work out or would he serve this patient, right?
WWJD.
I love that. So you put a kettlebell in there, which is cool because you've also recently expanded to a whole different side of PT and more into the fitness and movement space. Can you touch on that a little bit about how that experience has been and how's that taken off? Because it really has taken off.
Yeah. So physical therapy, right? You got to get the physical part in there. And in traditional therapy, we would prescribe exercises. There is a lot of manual therapy, a lot of mobilization. We do have a lot of crossover from your profession to my profession. But I felt like we just always missed the mark on the physical side of things. We would take people up to a point of, I can function, I can do the basic activities of life, but it's like, but can you do what you love to do to the highest level? And I think the gym is a part of that. So when you finish like your PT side of things, it's like, okay, what's the next step for longevity,
right,
for health? And so I look at my business as a journey for people and not just in a sense of like, okay, yeah, for my lifestyle. When they walk in our doors, I want them to visually see that journey. So we call our clinic a mullet. We've got business in the front and party in the back. So when you first walk in, it's a clinic. We're doing PT, we're getting people better, but there's windows that go into our back gym. And I want our patients to physically see there's people back there working their rear ends off. They're getting healthy, they're staying healthy, and they're going to do this for a lifestyle. So they can see the vision as soon as they walk in.
That. Yes.
So yeah, it is really just to give the patients the full journey that they need. And we wanted a place where people felt comfortable to work out, not overly intimidated.
Right.
Where they knew like, okay, we can modify movements, whether that is somebody in pregnancy, your moms maybe that are postpartum, whether it's a high school athlete that just wants to learn how to move the barbell without hurting themselves. And maybe it's your 65-year-old empty nester who's their kids are all in college and they need a hobby and they need people to hang out with, want to stay healthy. We've got all age ranges in our gym. And it just makes me happy to see that people still care about their movement.
Yeah, no matter what age, no matter where they are in life, they're still coming to you to see you and seek that help. And I think ultimately that comes down to like, what are their goals? And I know you're really good about asking people like, what is your goal out of all this? Because maybe somebody's coming in with, a hurt shoulder, but maybe they can't lift their grandkids up, right? And that's a bigger issue than just a hurt shoulder. And I know you're really good about getting that kind of like need behind the need. So along those lines, I'm going to kind of switch gears. You guys are really good at your merchandise and your branding. And
thank you for saying that because I don't feel like we are.
I have so many of your t-shirts and I think we have a hat as well. Is that just something that you like? It's like a passion. It's like fun for you. Or do you really recommend businesses actually go that route of make your, build your brand, do your merchandise and get people wearing your stuff because it's free advertising?
You bet. So there's a joke that I say within my business mastermind, like ABB, like always be branding. You're a walking billboard for yourself, right? So every opportunity we get, like I want to wear my merchandise. And there have been so many times when I've been in a restaurant in Abilene or just around town and people will see the logo and like, oh, you're a Bodyworks girl. And I'm like, yes, my name's Jodi. Yeah. But Body works, yes. Like that's our purpose. So I say always be wearing your merch, and if it doesn't look cool, you're not going to wear it.
True.
And neither are your patients or clients. And so it's not something that comes easy for me. It's not necessarily something I love. I just know it's important. And so I try to do my best of polling people like, what would you want to wear? What would you want to be seen in? Like, what makes you proud to wear this brand? And I want my staff to feel that way too. Like, yeah, of course I wear the brand because I'm proud to work there. I'm proud of what we're doing, and I'm proud of our mission. So
yes, I love that.
It's a work in progress.
I walked into y'all's office one time. I think I was actually picking up a t-shirt that I had bought, and you guys were having a staff meeting. Can you talk a little bit about what your staff meetings look like, what you guys go over, and what's the ultimate goal and purpose of them?
You bet. So our staff meetings, they used to be weekly. We've now switched to every other week. And it's really just a schedule thing. But I would advise, like, if you can meet with your staff and communicate weekly, do that. Like, I'm a big believer in communication. Yeah. The way our flow goes is we always start with a prayer. So we'll kind of go around the room like, hey, do you guys have any like prayer requests, praises, shout outs for the team? And we open it up in prayer. And it's just a nice way to start it. It sets the tone for the rest of the meeting. And then we go through our agenda. We have logistical things that we have to worry about, make sure that we're abiding all the laws of Texas and in healthcare. And then from there, we have tactical things that we go through and a follow-up system to make sure we're holding each other accountable. But
I love that.
We usually take time also to just chat, like just be in the presence of your team. Like we probably spend more time chatting than being tactical, to be honest, but we get it done. It's a nice time for all of us to meet.
Is that a time to check in with staff as well? Like, hey, how's this going? If they've got something personal going on in their life, or is that maybe something you would want to do more one-on-one in private?
More one-on-one. Yeah. I don't necessarily check in on people at that time. Like that's kind of our business meeting. And I like to treat each of my employees differently based on how they receive communication, how they learn, how they like to communicate. Yeah. Some people want to be heard right then and right there. Some people need time to process, and I've really gotten to know our people well. So I think something that's helped with that is different personality tests. So we have done so many of them. Working Genius, I highly recommend if you're a small business owner or a big business owner, use that tool. It's great. Enneagram is another good one that we all love. Yep. But if you know your people, you know how to best communicate with them. And so I check in daily, and it's intentional, but it's not icky, you know? Yep. It's like, I think there's a difference between walking by someone like Katie's my office manager. Hey, Katie, how's your day going? While you're still walking and addressing your attention to somebody else, you're not really asking her how her day's going. Yeah. It's like, I want to walk in and not even set my stuff down and just put my elbow on her desk and be like, dude, what's up? Yeah. How's your kid's football game? Like, literally, how are you? And so I just make sure to check in with people as a human. Super important. Yeah. People too, like I've noticed the more further along we get in business, people aren't looking for like the width of you. They're looking for more depth. They want time with just you. I love that. But that's the one thing that like we don't have as we get bigger and as we grow. Yeah. So how do you make time? Because your staff and your team is big. You guys are growing constantly, and your people stay, which I think is a true testament of your goal and your vision and who you are as a person and a small business owner. But how do you make time for everybody with all you have going on? That is a daily challenge, right? And I think that's where intention comes from. I selfishly used to lead with a success mindset, and I've since shifted to leading with a service mindset. That's good. I also like to listen to learn, not to reply. And that is a constant work in progress for me as a leader and as a healthcare provider, even with our patients, right? Definitely. Like when people tell you something, they're telling you about their lives. They're telling you about what's in here. So truly taking a pause to listen and not be thinking about the next thing, I think is important. And so when somebody's on my heart, I reach out to them immediately because I know I'm going to get busy and I'm going to forget or be like, oh, I meant to text this person, and you just never do. So I'm super intentional about really checking in with people. And again, I know I could do better. I have a team of 13. It's a lot of people. And I also don't want it to be like, hey, just checking in. How are things going? I make sure to ask about something specific. Yeah. And make people feel heard. So I feel like you're really good with people. It's part of your profession, but it's also just who you are. What would be some advice that maybe a student or somebody who's looking to open a business would have about like remembering names and remembering like personal details? Because that's really difficult sometimes when we've got so much going on. Yes. Like I said earlier, kind of like the listen to learn. Yeah. Not to reply. Take time to hear names. I would also say like seek to understand and not be understood, because we all have an agenda.
Yeah, that's good.
But our agenda is not why they're sitting in your office, like your patient. Or when somebody asks you for help, don't turn it onto your agenda. It's like, oh, nah, I have to take more time to help that person and respond to their question and do this. It's like, let me hear them out and see what I can do. So I think just like taking a pause to really care about people will take you a long way.
So your life is very, very busy. I don't know if we've talked about that at all.
What's that word? Busy.
But you are really big on work-life balance and making sure
Yes.
like you avoid that burnout, you avoid doing too much and, you know, having so much on your plate. Can you give some advice about taking time off, you know, going on vacation, just recharging and refilling your cup?
Yeah. I had to learn the hard way. I'm curious if you did too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because we are both overachievers.
Yes.
We're go-getters. And I went all in and I went fast. And about year 3, I knew it. Like I knew it was coming. And there's the analogy of juggling glass balls and rubber balls, right? The rubber balls will always bounce back. Your rubber balls are responding to somebody right away. Your rubber balls are, I need to go clean the toilet in the clinic. Like maybe that's a glass ball sometimes, but
Yeah.
you know, things can wait, right?
Yes.
Your glass balls are your relationships, your family, your faith, your health, very much your health. Like
yes.
that's a massive one for me and something I really care about. And I was just self-sabotaging and I was dropping a lot of my glass balls and saying my health can wait, my family can wait, my friends can wait. And I was just work. But I know that's not the case now. So I had to learn the hard way. So I think that looks different for everybody, work-life balance. There is no right or wrong answer. You've got to figure out your flow. And I think it's seasonal when you have kiddos, right? You're in this phase, you're in mom phase. I haven't had mom phase, but I know if that happened for me, I'd have to change it. So I think taking a pause, assessing your day-to-day, assessing your week, your month, and just saying what is reasonable for me and what's just going to burn me out, and just learning to say no tactfully and respectfully. No is not a bad word.
Yeah. Big facts.
You can say it the right way.
Do you pre-plan your vacations, like when you're taking time off, or are you at the point where you're like, I'm about to lose my mind, I need to take time off?
Spontaneity, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how it is.
I kind of go by feel.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm a 3. I'm an achiever. I occasionally plan. I'll say I've planned probably 2 in the last year. So I'm currently planning a trip for my staff.
Cool.
So I reward my staff based on just annual metrics of like, hey, if we reach this goal, I'll take you guys to Mexico on a vacation, which I would think like incentivizes them, right?
Yeah.
We all like to go have a good time. So I'm planning stuff like that because it's for other people. For myself, I'm like, the last week or 2, let's see what the beat is and go from there.
If we have a slower week, maybe I'll take some time off, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
And it probably gives people a ton of anxiety. But for me, it's like if I'm thinking about planning the trip, I'm anxious.
For sure.
But if I'm like, I need a trip, it's
gotta do
time.
it. I
Yeah.
love
But that's
that.
where I also schedule an admin days where it's like, especially as a business owner, you can't just say, I think I'll work on financials this day. And I think I'll do some networking on this day.
Right.
I'm a block schedule gal.
Yes.
I firmly believe in it. And the nice thing about a block schedule is if I have time blocked for admin, you know what? Admin for me means I'm going on vacation day because it'll fill my cup.
Yeah.
That is still administrative. That makes me a better leader. So I'm going to lean into that.
And it's getting you out of the business to work on the business, because when you're in the, the day-to-day, you're cleaning toilets, you're seeing patients or clients, you're not able to think about, oh, what should I do for the social media post? Like you can't be all things at one time. And so actually taking a step out of the business, we're super big on that. Like, so you can get your creativity flowing and get back into like what needs to be done. What can I kind of restructure and make sure that I'm hitting those goals, hitting those metrics, and maybe just, I don't know, get an idea and hear from the Lord that there's something better that could be going on. So I love that.
With that though, you have to set expectations, because it's not a great look if your patients and your staff are like, well, we see you on vacation all the time and you're doing this and you're doing that.
Yeah.
If you set the expectation, the standard first with your staff and say, we really believe in a balanced work-life type of schedule. Yeah. They know that it's important to you and you want it to be important to them too. And here's why you're doing it. And same thing for patients. It's like, hey, I got to fill my cup up so I can be a better healthcare provider for you. If not, you don't like angry, hangry, tired Jodi. She's not fun.
Nobody wants to go to that provider, right? Yeah. I joke with this. My brother-in-law he's in his residency and he does 24-hour shifts in his unit. And I'm like, who would want that doctor? That's not the doctor that I want performing my surgery. No. I want the one who's well rested, who maybe just got off vacation with his family, right? So that's what I think about too. But we relay that to our staff so hard. Like, it's been a while since you've taken time off, or you're hitting like over 40 hours this week, you need to take some time and just relax. And so I imagine you do the same thing, just really checking in with people and knowing your people that, okay, this person's overtired.
Yeah.
They've worked a lot. It's probably time for them to take time off.
And it sets the example.
Right.
Transparency, like you were saying, there's so much depth to that. Just
Yes.
leading by example, being authentic, being transparent. That doesn't mean we're perfect.
Right.
But we're human. And if your staff and your people can see you living out what you talk about, it goes so much further than the width.
Yes. And I wanted to ask you about that too, like, because I feel like you do a good job of showing vulnerability. Like, I am human too. I may own this business and I may juggle a lot of things, but I too need to take some time for myself. How have you maybe shown vulnerability to your staff, to your team, to make it okay for them to do that kind of stuff as well?
It's taken time. I used to be pretty rough around the edges. I'm just going to say, I used to think I was a hard ass.
Mm-hmm.
I have learned really quick as I've matured, and, I've just been humbled so many times that, like, we're imperfect human beings. We're not designed to be perfect, right? We're a work in progress. And I think if you can show that side of you, it builds such a trust and rapport with everybody around you. And so I tried to lean into that, and it's not easy for me. I don't do feelings and emotions well, but I have found in the last year, when I can just be myself, everything works out so much better. Like, what are you running from? What are you hiding from? Why do you have a shield up? Just be you. Like, people will love you. And that's Abilene's such a great community for that, because they are so loving and caring. We're fortunate to live in a place where people are a little bit more loving and will have your back.
Yes. And I think that authenticity just spills over into everything you do. Like, people can tell when you're not being authentic, and if you're trying to be somebody you're not. And it shows, like, when you're caring for people, like, if you're just who you are and you have a big heart. So that's going to show with your people versus like, oh, I'm just, I'm really hardcore and I want to work. But no, I just want to be here and I want to serve the person in front of me and I want to go home and live my life too. So I think it's special we get to do that.
You guys set the example so well for that. Like, I see y'all out in the community. I see you doing things, and that's something I want to get better at, is like, we say we serve, but are we just serving the people in front of us, or are we serving a bigger picture, right? And how can we kind of spread our wings? So thank you for setting that example.
Yeah, man, absolutely. It's likewise. I feel that way about you too. Okay, wrap it up here. Any books, podcast, anything that you've heard, seen, read lately that you would share and maybe advise other people to follow as well?
That is a loaded question, because there are so many, and again, it's seasonal and topical.
Yes.
I really love The One Thing. It's one of my favorite books, and right now the author's not going to come to me, but the emphasis is just on focusing on the one thing for right now, because we live in such busy lives. We go, 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 go. And I don't know if that's a 2024 thing or if that's been going on for the last 30 years for all of us. It's a culture. Yeah. And so, again, taking time to pause, focusing on the one thing and moving on from there.
I love that, Jodi. Dr. Jodi, where can people find you? Social media, email, phone number?
Absolutely. You can find us at Bodyworks, BODYWORX_PT. My personal handle is at Jodi, JODI_HIER. You can find us on our website. If you just Google Bodyworks, again, WORXPT, that works.
And Dr. Jodi, y'all's social media is on point.
Oof.
If people watch your stuff, can they rip off some of your stuff, steal some of your ideas?
1,000%. Please do. Just tag me at the bottom.
Yes, I love that. Thank you so much for being on, Dr. Jodi. We've loved having you.
Appreciate you.